stick. This is the first weapon we are talking about. Stick is the most generic weapon, the most available weapon. Any sort of blunt short weapon is basically a stick, and the stick is the best weapon to start with because it has most directions of attack, defense, and it's very simple to learn the basic weapon wielding motorics with. So let's start. How do we hold a stick? We hold the stick this way. We take our both hands together at the end of the stick and we let one away. So we have the rear part and we have the front part of the stick. So this is how we hold the stick. The important thing is keep your fingers together. If you do this, the stick will let loose from the holding. So keep your fingers together even when you do this sort of movement, and to keep them together you need to operate the elbow. If you just try to operate the wrist, the fingers will open. So you see, I operate the elbow. Now let's talk about the hitting part of the stick. We have two sides for the stick, two ends. We can hit with the rear end, stab and hit and press and do joint locks and manipulations. And we have the long part. Of course we can hit with every part, but the best part to hit with is the upper third of the stick, because then we can use the most weight of the stick. The motion with the stick is usually round movement, round swings or short rolls, and when the movement is round, the farther it is from the center of the circle, the longer the radius is, the faster the movement, the higher the momentum, the higher the impact is. So we want to use the upper third of the stick to hit. If we want to do manipulations, of course we can use a shorter lever than the longer lever, but for swing and hits we want to use the upper third of the stick. So we have several types of hitting. We can hit heavy or light. Light hits are coming from the shoulder and it looks like very forceful hit, but this is actually very weak way to hit with the stick. The proper way to hit is heavy hit, and for this we need to loose the elbow and the wrist. We want to hear this swish sound when we hit with the stick. And it doesn't matter if it's downwards or upwards, we want to drop the weight heavily. This is a movement. You see, I let the elbow and the wrist loose and I drop the weight downwards or upwards. I can do rolls. I'm doing them heavily. Heavy rolls. I let the weight fall at the end. You see, the wrist and the elbow play the game, not the shoulder. It's not like long, very forceful and very tiring movement. It's light for me, but heavy for the stick, and it's faster. Heavy strike can jump on. What do I mean? This. I hit and I can continue the hit. Because this is heavy, because I let the stick fall, so it falls here and continue the fall onwards. If I use forceful, light strike from the shoulder, it looks like this and it goes nowhere, it just stuck here. So use heavy hits and you can continue the movement, because the stick will spring on, will jump away, and you will manipulate the weight drop onwards to the next strike and next strike. So the stick has all the 13 directions of attack and defense. 12 directions of defense. The plus, the cross. We have the rolls, the front roll and the back roll, and we have the stab. With the rear part, plus we have the cross, we have rolls, and we have the back rolls and stab. For defense, we still have 12 directions with the stick. Not all weapons has them. We have the plus, or this way. From the up downward direction, the diagonal, the cross direction. And I can use rolls for defense. I can use the back roll. See, this was for attack and this is for defense. We don't have stab for defense. Where do we want to hit our target? Assuming Kfir is my target and I want to hit him. So obviously we want to hit him in the head, right? So we can have all the directions to the head. From below, from above, I can roll the stick on his head. From behind his head, here and here. I can of course hit him with the cross diagonally on the body. So we want to hit his body. We can stab every soft tissue, like temples, eyes, nose. I can strike the throat. I can use the rear part for chokes and manipulation, as well as the main part of the stick for chokes, for manipulations. I can hit the limbs, the legs, the arms. I can manipulate using my stick. The ankles, the knee, from the outside, from the rear part, the elbows, very good target. The fingers, if he grabs a weapon, I want to hit the fingers. As my primary target, I will just target the fingers, close distance, and hit him. Or hit the stick and slide on his fingers. I can hit his back with the stick, or with the rear part I can just stab him in the back. So basically with the stick I can hit everywhere I want to, and every target is legit and painful and effective. So when I hit him, I want to have this sort of 45 degrees angle between my stick and the direction. See the 45 degrees here? I'm not hitting like this, perpendicular, because he's far away. I want to keep this distance between us, because this is the edge of the stick. I can have a distance between us. Let's say he's armed and I want to keep the distance to be safe. So I want to hit him with this sort of angle. Even with rolls, see, always this far-reaching angle to his knees, and not this perpendicular angle, but 45 degrees angle. See, this 45 degrees, not here, because I want to reach far. See, not here, I reach far. And this is very important also to keep your perimeter safe. For defense, you want to use this far-reaching angle. A very important angle is when he hits me from above. I must let the stick fall downwards. Otherwise, this is what will happen. He will just slide on my stick into my fingers. And if I'm doing this, so this is like a gift to him, just slides down perfectly on my fingers, so I must keep it this way. I roof it. I let his stick fall downwards. Okay, I want to let him slide there, and I give a little push. And move, of course. If you stick here, the quicker person will just slide to the fingers. And this is very symmetrical, he can slide over me. So when you do this, push and don't stay there. Otherwise, this will happen. So the basic defenses we have with stick is, of course, depends on the direction of attack. So Fear will attack me with a stick. It works also against other weapons, but the basics are the same. And as always, you just need to practice a lot to find out exactly what works for you, because not everything working for everybody. So we have the upper direction, and we've already talked about it a few minutes before. This is a defense, but this is the worst defense you can have in this direction. From this direction I can also just hit him. I use a 45 degrees cross to divert his stick. What we really want to do is not complete block, but divert the hit. We don't really want to block anything, only diversions. So we want to divert it to the side and to the other side as well. Here, okay? So I have the upper cross. From below, I can divert him to one side or to the other side. This is pretty easy. I can also, from above, use rolls. If I hold my stick up, so I can roll to the, and sidestep and divert his stick sideways. The really hard direction is the plus, the horizontal direction. So for horizontal direction, again, we want to divert the stick. We don't want to really block it. So I can use the X from up downwards, and I divert the stick. It's not like I block. No, I hit and I want to continue. I always want to have this diversion and this security, this check, the bridging hand after I hit the stick. 1 and 2, because the real enemy is the person and not his weapon. So I just want to divert the weapon and access to the person and subdue the person, not the stick or any weapon. So just be smart, don't get in the wrong range. If he hits me in this direction that I'm here, I will probably get hit. It's really hard to stop this way the stick. So I must be in farther distance. I can use this sort of defense, and again, I'm here, I'm pushing my stick towards him and I move. If I just stay here, I will get hit. So I move. And it works also when the stick is vertical, upwards, not only downwards, but also upwards. And I must move, I can't stay there. I can use roll, the front roll, to defend against the horizontal strikes. 1 and 2. Again, the point is diversion, it's not blocking, almost never blocking. Stabs. If we want to stop stab, again, we use usually rolls, but we can use any type of strike that divert the stab sideways. This was X, the cross. I can roll here or roll here. It's very hard to do it from down upwards. Possible, but harder. Against cross attacks, we can use cross against cross, and we can use the back roll like a roof and move on. So I must move together with it. If you hit me from this direction, I roof the strike, I move, and I use just a round movement. I'm not stopping it, and I continue. If you take from the other side, I can use the back roll to the other side, and take him with me. So the basic defense are the directions, the X direction, the roll, the back roll. We have the plus direction here, and here, and here. We have the front roll direction, and the lower X. Also, if I want to keep my knees from getting hit, I can divert this way. I can divert this from his outer direction. Those are the basic defense. The movement of the stick is, as most movements, based on few principles. The first principle is the figure 8. We have the up downward direction of the figure 8, and we have the down upward direction of the figure 8. The second principle we have is chasing hands. You see? Chasing hands. Both hands are moving same direction, and this is seen better when we are wielding two sticks. Right now I actually combine figure 8 with chasing hands, but we can do it also this way. This is also figure 8 and chasing hands. Okay, so figure 8 turning from upward to downward direction when we turn around, but we are using two principles, figure 8 and chasing hands, with single weapon or double weapon. The third principle we are using is separation of directions. We are moving the empty hand or the second weapon in movement against the first weapon. This is separation of direction here. And we also have the moving hands toward each other, like this. So we have closing and opening, working together and separate directions. Basics. When we have weapon fighting, we don't really want to be in our opponent's range. We want to be in our range, and our range can be our weapon range or very short range and submission or knockouting. So be smart. If he attacks me with a stick, I can defend myself, but how many times can I defend myself? If he attacks very aggressively, and this is of course not very aggressively, he will close distance very fast. So if you are finding yourself in this situation, keep your distance, and when you decide to close the distance, just attack his fingers. This is like the first thing you really want to do. Is not going for the head, he will defend himself. Use diversion, strike him on the stick or whatever, but the first real target is the fingers. Check it, okay? Hit his fingers, check him, and then you can stab, hit, and then whatever. Like, if you decide that you have to go for it, go for it. Be attuned in with what you do, have high intention in what you're doing. So, without playing too many games, it will be like 1, 2, 3, stabbing and hitting, and again. You see, I play with my distance. I going for short distance. If I want to hit him with the rear part, I'm using the movement of the stick and hit him in the long range. But the basic idea is attack his weapon holding hand. Now that saying, let's show you something we can do. We can use diversion, we can use our stick to disarm him. You see, I basically use any part of the stick to create a lever here on his wrist and his thumb here. I can do it from this direction, I can do it from the rear direction. So I basically lock his wrist and thumb between his stick and mine. Another thing we can do, if we grab his stick, see, I put his fingers between the sticks and I press them together. This is very, very painful. I just compress his fingers. The next joint we can work with is the elbow. So of course, strike and I press. Right now I'm separating directions. I press his elbow. If he's not letting go, I can use his arm to lock himself. All he needs to do actually is just lose his weapon and he's free to go. I can do this. This time I will use the rear side and I hold his hand, not his weapon, his hand, to make this joint lock. You see? It's this. I can do it with bare hands, but when I'm using the stick, I separate his elbow parts from each other. The next thing we can do is see from below into his shoulder. And I use this as a very simple manipulation. Here, I stab him in his shoulder. Again here. I can use this. I can do this sort of joint lock. See? I grab his hand and his elbow, but I actually operated this joint on this lock on his shoulder. This is the equivalent of this. Knee. Use the rear side of the stick, just stab him. See, I can pull him up using the stick. I just stick my stick in his knee and see, now I put his both legs. Step. Whatever you do, you can always just use round movement after diversion to hit and hit again. See, I stab him in the stomach and I press. I can stab or I can just push my stick into his center of mass. Of course, never forget you can always use legs and head strikes when you're using your stick. This is not the weapon. You are the weapon. This is just an extension of your weapon, of yourself. He will not stop there. He will not wait for me hitting him. So it will be harder. So if you just be in a playful mindset, this will be a game. In real situation, it's not a game. Be very decisive with what you do. Very quick and to the point. Don't try to outgame him. Another important thing, you can stand like this, front leg, front hand, and this is one way. You can stand on the opposite. The front hand is not holding the stick, and this is different usage. It's harder to defend this way, but if I can divert him, it's easier for me to close the distance and to press on him. When I press on him, he's dealing with this, and then I have more options for striking and attacking, and it's more aggressive. It's like holding a shield and spear. So I'm like pushing him with my shield, my open hand, and strike him with my spear, my stick. Different usage. Nothing is better than the other. Two weapons wielding is very different than single weapon wielding, and we really don't want to get in close range and playing like this with two sticks. We want to keep our distance, and the work must be fluid. We must not cross ourselves and prevent ourselves from moving. So it works a lot with figure eight and chasing hands. And if I use separation of directions or opposite direction, so it will be like this, with small cross, like the basic drill, small movement, and still we'll be using the principle of chasing hands. See, I separate direction, but it's actually figure eight in chasing hands. It's harder. You can actually spar a lot faster with two weapons than with one weapon, because we don't really grab and hold here. We just fight with our weapons. So the fight is sparring is faster. In real life situation, again, be very decisive. It's not a game. It's not a cooperative partner. It's somebody you have to subdue. So in real life situation, strike, and don't be afraid of getting hit. You probably will. If it's a cutting weapon, be smarter about it. Try not to get cut or stabbed. See, you can stab. Never forget you can stab. Don't forget the back rolls. It's the unseen punch, the unseen strike. Diversion and attack. Always use diversion. Always use deception in your fight.